Hey. What's
What
going
up?
on? Thanks for joining us for these live stream reviews. We're looking forward to doing this. Always a good time. How many are we reviewing today?
6, I think.
6,
or 7.
awesome. Well, hey, and if you have some tips, be sure to drop those in the comments. We're all here to help each other, make each other better. Just be constructive in your feedback. Also, let us know where you're tuning in from. Drop that in the comments. We're here in the Tulsa, Oklahoma area, and we are having a beautiful, 75-degree day today. I don't know if you can see our friend joining us today. This is Josie, Dylan's dog. She's very friendly.
She likes to come join us at the office every now and then, and she is kind of being a pest right now. So hopefully she behaves.
I wouldn't call her a pest. She's just very, very friendly. Well, we review live streams every month, sometimes a few times a month. And if you want us to review yours, you're going to need to become an all-access subscriber using the link in the description. We're currently running a limited offer where you can get your first month for just $7. $7. That's 76% off. To take advantage of this offer, you'll need to sign up by this Friday. All of our all-access subscription grants you access to 5 different things. One is my entire training system called Church Sound Made Simple. This is how you create great, consistent sound every single Sunday. All of that's in a really simplified training that's not going to overwhelm you. You also get access to all of our other courses, including X32 Mastery, Wing Mastery, EQ Crash Course. We're going to create a mastery course for pretty much all of the popular mixers. Up next is the QU32. And then there's a Yamaha mixer after that. So when you become an all-access subscriber, you'll get access to all of our courses that come out in the future as well. You get access to our private chat group where you can get your problems solved quickly, because we all know that you have specific problems that are specific to your church, and we want to help you solve those. We also have one-on-one coaching calls that you can schedule with either me or Dylan, so we can walk you through those things as well. And then, of course, live stream reviews. So sign up for just $7 using the link in the description, but you got to do that by Friday, this Friday, November 17th, so don't delay. All right, now let's review some live streams. This first one is from Donnie. And let's see what he says. The issues that he's facing. Number 1, he needs to set up in-ear monitors for his band and worship leader. They use Wave Air 3 for worship and Wave Mix 4 USB. And for sound front of house, I need good sound and harmony. For front of house, I use Beta 3 Behringer and sub-use Mackie. Please, I need good sound. Man, those IEMs are definitely going to help get some good sound, because whenever you have floor wedge monitors, man, creates a headache for the front of house guy. But yeah, let's take a listen to this and see how we can help him out. Well, first of all, your bass guitar sounds good, so keep that up. All right, the first thing I want to talk about improving is the snare drum. It sounds a little strange to me, and I'm trying to look at the miking here. Yeah, it looks like you have a mic on the snare drum.
Sounds like it's tuned really high.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's a source issue. Like maybe try changing the head and tuning that snare drum a little bit lower. It just kind of sounds like I don't know, it just sounds kind of hollow. Like there's not a lot of punch to it. There's not a lot of depth to it. You can also use some EQ to help clean that up a little bit. Where that's happening is somewhere in the low mid frequency range, probably around 6 to 7 to 800 hertz, somewhere in there. If you apply a pretty steep cut in there, you could use a PEQ filter on your mixer, set the Q to around 3, and then you could cut 6 to 9 dB in that, like somewhere in that 7 to 900 hertz range, and you'd probably notice that snare sounding a lot better. But I would start first with tuning it a little bit differently. It seems to be picking up a lot of the ambience. It sounds more ambient than it does direct sound. And I'm looking at your mic right there. You have the mic placed correctly. So yeah, start with tuning the drums, see if you get a better sound that way. And of course, you can apply that EQ filter that I talked about as well. You know, I think overall we're getting too much of the ambient noise. So if you have ambient mics in that mix, you need to turn them down. We're getting a little too much of that. Maybe it could be reverb as well, although I think it's the ambient. It sounds like you have a really live room going on in there, which I'm sure is a great challenge for you to deal with. But bring that down in the live stream. The live stream is going to sound better. And also on the vocals. The vocals sound a little bit thin, so I would bring some of those low frequencies back into them. Your low cut filter may be set a little too high. If it's any higher than 180 hertz, that's probably too high. Dial that back to bring some depth back to the vocal. And if you're boosting anywhere in the high frequency range, take away those boosts. And also if you have a low shelving filter or something like that that's bringing down the lows, bring that back up to add some more depth and warmth to the vocals because they're pretty thin right now. It sounds a little bit digital, like there's some digital fragments going on in the audio, and I'm not quite sure where that would come from. That could be because of a bad internet connection or something like that. So I don't know. If anybody else that's watching right now has had a problem like that, drop in the comments what you've done to fix kind of that digital sounding thing that's going on.
I'd imagine it has something to do with what they're streaming on.
Yeah.
The device they're using. Maybe they said it in the thing. You can look here in a minute.
Dylan, go ahead and comment on visuals. I'll look at the comments here.
Okay. Visually, I like that each shot is looking consistent from shot to shot in terms of white balance and exposure. I think it's a little cool. I think you could warm it up a little bit and it'd look a little more natural. You can kind of see what I mean with the white back, the white wall, I guess. It looks a little bit blue. This shot, the white balance looks right on the one we're looking at right now. I would also say those transitions you have going on with like the square flip and whatever else there was, I think that kind of takes you out of the stream and makes it look kind of old, I guess. Like you just don't see those kinds of transitions very often. So I really wouldn't recommend that you use those. I like that you have some movement going on in terms of some of the cameras are moving around. Those look great. This main shot here is looking a little unlevel as far as the horizon, and I see it getting knocked around a little bit, so I'd work on that, just making sure it gets leveled off each week before you start. And then if you need to put something around it to make sure no one's hitting it, that's a good thing to do too. That's all I got right now. You got any comments?
Sweet. Well, Joseph says, it's a good day when they release a live stream review. So
yeah,
thanks, Joseph. Let's see. So Dave is asking, do they review pre-selected live streams or ones that viewers submit? I wouldn't mind my live stream reviewed. We review live streams for our all access subscribers. So you can actually become an all access subscriber for just $7 using the link in the description. And then you can submit your live stream to us and we'll get it in the next one. We have people tuned in from Virginia, Tennessee, California, Canada, Fort Lauderdale. So great to have you guys. Now Steve said this has a lot of phase cancellation, so that might be what's causing that digital weird sounding issue that's going on. I wouldn't say that I'm an expert in phase cancellation. I find it kind of odd, really, that they would have that in a live stream, but maybe that's due to the ambient mic problem, and if it's out of alignment and out of sync with the actual live stream, it could cause some really strange issues going on. So, Steve, if you can provide some more wisdom on that, feel free to drop that in the comments to help him out. Darwin is asking, is there time at the end for Q&A? Darwin, just ask your questions as we're going and we'd be happy to answer those. Alrighty, let's move on to the next live stream here. This is what, Dylan?
I'm gonna have to give Josie a talking to during this one. She's over here walking in between all our cables, making me nervous.
You're gonna unplug something and cause problems.
That'd be bad.
All right, this next one's from Larry, and he's from Emmanuel Baptist Church. I believe we've reviewed this one again, so he's just looking for overall improvement. We've followed a ton of your suggestions and are looking to improve our live stream audio each month. And I love that he brought that up because it is a continual process of improvement. You never get it all right and the next time you try to improve something.
For sure.
So, I mean, we're still improving our stuff as time goes on as well. All right, so let's pull this up. Emmanuel Baptist Church, here we go. awesome, man. It's sounding good. Filling up the full frequency spectrum. Those vocals are sounding clean. So let's talk about what you can do to take it to the next level, just a continual journey of improvement here. One thing that I noticed is with the kick drum, it was real swimmy, like it wasn't punchy. And I think that's because you got some reverb maybe on the whole drum mix. And you don't want reverb on those low frequencies on the kick drum, but I know you want reverb on the snare. So that's kind of one of those catch-22s whenever you're using an electronic drum kit. You can't apply reverb to a specific drum. But one thing you can do is apply a low cut filter to the reverb so that it's not, that reverb isn't coming through those low frequencies. So I would do that. Whatever reverb you have on the drums, put a low cut filter on that reverb so you don't have that problem. It's going to tighten up that low end and make it sound a lot better. You want that kick to sound nice and clean and punchy. I think it could also be brought up in the mix. So you're going to have to program that on the drum kit itself. Go bring up that kick drum in comparison to all the other drums there. It's going to make a big difference in your mix. Another thing that I noticed is on that female vocal is she's sounding a little thin now. You may be a little too aggressive with cutting out those low frequencies. So check the placement of your low cut filter. Make sure it's no higher than like 180 hertz or so. And also if you have a low shelving filter, bring that back up a little bit to add some more warmth back to her. Or maybe if you have a PEQ filter somewhere in those low mids, you may just be a little too aggressive with that. So just bring that back up so that she doesn't just sound clean, but she also sounds warm at the same time. It's a very It's a balance. It's a fine line between when you make it too thin versus, too heavy. But just keep adjusting that until you get a warm, clean, beautiful vocal. I'm just going to leave you with that. Do those two things, and we'll carry on to the next one. What do you think about visuals, Dylan?
I like the visuals. I think they look good. The only thing that I noticed right off the bat was that shot on the female vocalist was pretty unlevel. That kind of threw me off. I don't know if that was a stylistic thing you were going for or if that was an accident. I would recommend leveling that out just like all the other angles are. But I like how you have tight shots of almost everybody on stage. You have that wide shot. Your purple lights are casting a little bit of purple hue onto the skin tones. So see if you can fix that by adding or adjusting the tint more towards the green. It's really not that bad. I mean, I can tell it's just from the purple lights, not the white balance being off. Maybe you can just adjust them to where it's not hitting skin tones as much. I'm trying to see some more shots here. This shot right here with her head at the bottom there is a little awkward looking. Maybe you can zoom that in some more so it's tighter on the guitars if that's what you're going for. Or maybe just, if you can't zoom in any tighter than that, I would probably not do that shot. Her head floating there just looks a little awkward to me. I do like how you have the lyrics displayed. They're easy to read, look good. I like the shot on the pianist there, keyboardist. What would you call him these days? Pianist, keyboardist? Whatever. He looks like he's having a good time.
You could also have the guitarist move or the singer move placement on the stage to fix that shot.
That's true.
So they're not overlapping. Somebody pointed out the acoustic guitar needed to be tuned, and that is correct. So just those simple things can make such a big difference. Make sure your guitars are tuning right before the service. Tuning once before rehearsal is not enough. You need to tune before rehearsal and before the service, and maybe even sometimes in the middle of the service. If things get out of tune, you got to listen, right?
I'd also recommend doing straight cuts instead of fades between shots. That'll modernize it a little bit. I think crossfades on every shot it kind of dates it a little bit. It doesn't look bad. It doesn't look modern, I guess. Overall, you're doing a great job though. It looks awesome. It's very engaging. You have a lot of camera angles you're cutting between. The movements are smooth. I like that you have a lot of close-up options. So good job with that.
Yeah, keep up the good work, my friend.
Keep it up.
All right, let's carry on to the next one.
I always forget I can use this.
All right. Here we go. This next one is from Samuel from Deliverance Assemblies of God Church in Ghana. That's cool. My general sound is bad, front of house and live stream. So he's just looking for us to help him out. He's using the Behringer X32. So here we go.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Elisha. Hey, Elroy, Elohim, Adonai. this time. Thank you, Father. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Lord, we thank you, we thank you.
So I'm hearing quite a bit of distortion on those channels, and that's probably your main issue there. And that's a gain staging issue. And so you want to go through channel by channel and make sure that you're setting gain the right way. So gain is the front door to your mixer, is how I like to say. It's the first thing when you plug something into the mixer, the first thing it's going to go through is the preamp, which is the gain levels. And so you want to make sure you get that right, because if you don't get it right, it's just going to ruin everything else down the line. In this case, you have your gain set too high on these channels, so they're hitting into the red and causing this distortion sound. So you want to fix that so you can have clean audio that you have to work with for like compression and EQ and everything else that you're going to do afterwards. So what you're looking for when you're setting gain on a channel, on the X32, there's a level meter for each channel, and it's right under the mute button or above the mute button, one of the two. It's those green and yellow lights that are flashing. And so you're going to select the channel and you're going to adjust gain until... Now you want to be doing this in kind of like a heavier part of the song where the vocalists are really singing out, the instruments are playing, and then you're going to adjust gain so that it's crawling over that point where the green lights meet the yellow lights. And you do that for every channel. Every channel. You want to make sure no channels are hitting into the red. If they're hitting into the red, that's a bad thing. You need to decrease the gain until they're not doing that anymore. And you also want to make sure that you're not hitting the red for your main output as well, which might be going on at the same time. And if that's the case, then you may just have a problem with the way that your amps or your powered speakers are set. You need to adjust the levels there. I actually have a video that walks you through how to do that. It's kind of a little too complicated just to explain here on this live stream. But if you go to collaborateworship.com when this is done and you search under the free content for amp level, you'll find it there. So do that thing. Start with gain, get your amp levels right. It's going to make everything else start to come into line. And I want you to just start there. I'm not going to give you anything else other than that, because it's going to make a huge difference in what you have going on there. So get your gain levels right, and then come back and resubmit your live stream, and then we can take you on to the next step. Dylan, what do you think about visuals?
I think this is a very lively live stream. First thing I noticed off the bat was that little lower thirds. I don't know what you would call that promo. It says every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 6 a.m. I don't know that that's really necessary. Maybe you could just put that in the description of the live stream post. It just it takes up a lot of your frame and kind of takes me out of what's going on. I just don't feel like that's really necessary to have on the screen, at least the whole time. Maybe put it up for a couple minutes every now and then throughout the service if you really want to, but I would recommend not putting it up the whole time. I'm trying to decide what I think about this one camera angle that's just kind of moving around the room the whole time. It's a very interesting approach that I've never seen before. What do you think about it?
I thought it was interesting, but I liked being able to see what was going on in the room.
What all's going on.
And honestly, I was impressed with the response of the room whenever he's saying that his in-house mix or the sound in-house is just as bad as the live stream, and he's trying to get that sorted out. So the fact that people are that engaged, even when the sound's struggling, is impressive. Makes me wonder how much more engaged they're going to be whenever he gets all these sound issues sorted out. I bet it's going to be even an incredible difference.
I'm just kind of watching. It's kind of fun to watch just it move around and see what's happening in the room, to be honest. I guess I like it because I just keep watching and wanting to see what happens. It looks like a PTZ camera, and if I'm correct on that, it looks great for a PTZ camera. I think your white balance and your exposure look as good as they can for what it is, especially considering that you've got a lot of dark skin tones and a lot of white clothing. That's really hard for a lot of cameras to deal with. And looks like you've got it balanced the best you probably can. So great job with that. Did you notice that the drummer's like all the way off to the side over there? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
I noticed that a second ago.
That'd be challenging.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of like it moving around. I don't know that I'd ever recommend someone do that, but now that I'm seeing it, I kind of like it.
It's working.
If you got one camera and it moves around, why not? I'm curious in the comments, what does everybody else think about that? Great job with what you guys are working with. Keep it up.
All I can say is I want to go to church there. If I was ever in Ghana, I want to come pay a visit.
It looks like fun.
Yeah. Thanks for sending that in. Fix those gain issues. You're going to be surprised at what that does, and then we can go from there. We'll help you get all that sorted out, and be sure to use since you're an all-access subscriber, make sure you're in our Slack chat group, and we can help you solve issues even between these live stream reviews. All righty, let's move on to the next one. This is from Chris and New Covenant Outreach. He's just looking for help with the overall mix using the Behringer Wing. All right, here we go. I'll full screen it for you this time, Dylan. Look
Thanks.
at that. Look at that.
And I raise a hallelujah. And heaven comes to fight for me.
I'm gonna sing in the middle of the storm.
Louder and louder, you're gonna hear my praises roar. Up from the ashes, hope will arise. Death is defeated, the King is alive.
All right, you have a great start. You really do. So, but one thing that's throwing this off is the difference in ambience between the different instruments. So your guitar has like this huge ambience going on, like it sounds like it's in this huge cathedral or something like that, and then your vocals are very dry. I'm not sure that I even hear much reverb on them at all. So what that does to your ears and really to your brain is it messes with people, because it's like the vocals sound like they're in this room, the guitar sounds like it's in this room, but yet I'm looking at all these people and they're all in the same room. So you want to figure out a way to get everybody in the same room. Your guitarist might have a little bit too much ambience going on his pedals and things like that, so he needs to dial it back a bit. And then you can add some reverb to the vocals to bring them all into the same space and make it sound like one congruent effort going on. So really what you need to work on first is just getting your reverb and your ambience right in this mix. Now, I did notice that the guitar was quite loud in the mix, so that needs to be dialed back. But maybe that's just one of those whoopsies that happens. I mean, the same thing happens on our live stream. Sometimes you miss it, and then you come back and listen later, like, wow, so the guitar was real loud this week in the live stream. Yeah, we do that too. So yeah, it's the main thing here you want to work on is ambience. Let's listen to a little more.
The King is alive.
I'm going to go to a different part of a different song here.
I know that you will keep your covenant. I'm calling on the God of Moses.
I think you have your vocals EQ'd very nicely. They sound very warm and clean to me. So you just need that reverb on them to take them to the next level. And just to give you some reverb tips, the primary reverb for vocals is a plate reverb that you want to use. You could probably load in the main plate reverb on the Behringer Wing and it would sound pretty good. I like to pair that with a hall reverb. So let's say if I had two different reverbs on a vocal, a majority of the reverb would be that plate reverb, and then I'd mix in some hall reverb with like a 3 to 4 second decay time. That's pretty long, but it would be more in the background, but it adds some more space and depth to the vocal. But those two reverbs combined on a vocal usually give you some great results. So get some reverb on those vocals, dial back the reverb on that guitar. It's going to bring everything together. Dylan, what do you think of visuals?
Well, I had a comment about the audio. It sounds like things are kind of layered in a way where there's not really much blend between the layers. It almost sounds like I hear a lot of things in their own space, but nothing's really coming together. I don't know how you would fix that, though. What do you think?
That was the reverb thing. So it's really sounding like each thing is in its own room. And that's why you can really hear them distinctly. Because it's like that guitar has probably a 5 or 6 second decay time, like reverb on it. So it sounds, woo, it just goes and goes and goes. And the vocals have nothing on
Did you
them.
say that a second ago?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was looking at the visuals.
Dylan should be listening.
I know I should be.
So yes, we already addressed that, Dylan.
Got
it
it.
covered.
Whoops. All right, visuals. We've done this stream a few times, I'm pretty sure. I really don't have anything to say. I think it looks good. I just noticed a little bit of green in the skin tone, so I would recommend adjusting your tint towards the magenta a little bit. Also, maybe zoom out a tiny bit so those two people on the edges of the frame aren't going in and out of it like that female vocalist that we see right now. So yeah, I'd probably just zoom out a tiny bit. I like where they're framed in the shot, how they're kind of in the middle. You get to see a little bit of the background, and you get to see a little bit of the congregation too. Was there only one shot on this? I'm trying to remember if I saw any changes. I think it's only one.
Yeah, I only saw one.
Oh, it looks good. So good job there. I don't have anything else.
they're commenting on the background. Everybody's loving the background.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Somebody even asked, did the Crochet Club make the background? Because it's really cool. It reminds me of the Matrix. That's pretty funny. A couple comments about the drums, that they're kind of a ghost in the mix, and I would agree with that. I was so focused on the mismatched ambience that I didn't really comment on the drums, but they were kind of lost in there. Some people have different opinions on how loud the drums should be in the mix, but just remember, drums is where the energy is, so make sure you can hear them if you want your mix to have energy. All right, carrying on to the next one. This is from Jeremiah from Calvary Prescott. They are having some audio and visual issues, but specifically audio. Let's see. They're using an SQ7. Here we go. Let's take a listen.
Broken hearts declare His praise. For who can stop the Lord Almighty? Our God is the Lion of Judah. He's roaring with power, fighting our battles. Every knee will bow before Him. Our God is the Lamb that was slain for the sin of the world. His blood breaks the chains. Every knee will bow before the Lion and the Lamb. Oh, every knee will bow before Him. So open up the gates, make way before the King of Kings.
Awesome. Thanks for sending this in. One thing that we're missing is like a whole part of the frequency spectrum. Thinking like, well, really the whole lower end of the frequency spectrum is 400 hertz and under. And what happens whenever that whole area is missing is you miss the warmth of the mix, and you also miss the energy of the mix. And at first I was wondering, is there even a bass guitar in this mix? And I see him there. There is a bass guitar. He needs to come way up. Like I can't even hear him. I don't even know that he's there. So bring up that bass guitar a lot in this mix to fill in that low end. And also on that keyboard, I think you may have a low cut filter or something going on there that's cutting out the low frequencies, that I would just stop doing that and bring those low frequencies back into the mix, because the piano is one of those instruments that can really fill in that low, like 400 hertz, 200 hertz range to bring warmth to the mix. You don't want to get that from the acoustic guitar, but from the piano, that would be great. And even your vocalists were sounding a little bit thin. You need to bring some warmth back to them. So check your low cut filter, and if you have a low shelving filter, like what I recommend on there, start inching those up a little bit until you get that warmth back to the vocals. So you want vocals to sound clear, but you also want them to sound warm. So you're looking for that balance between the two. Let me listen again.
Lord Almighty, who can stop the Lord? Who can stop the Lord Almighty?
The acoustic guitar is kind of ruining the mix, and acoustic guitars tend to do that. And we've talked about this in every live stream review, the importance of getting a good sound from your acoustic guitar. And a lot of times it just means that you need to change the pickup in the guitar. You can only do so much with what guitars give you. I mean, you can apply some EQ and do some things in this, but in the end, the sound that they're giving you is blah, then you're still going to end up with blah, maybe a polished blah sound afterwards. So the thing that we keep recommending to people is to swap out the pickup in the acoustic guitar for something called the LR Bags pickup. And it's an investment, but it's worth the investment. I would set aside money in your budget to do this. It's going to cost you $500 or $600 or something like that once it's all said and done.
Yeah, probably $400.
Oh, sweet. $400 once it's all said and done, because you have to buy the pickup and then you have to take it to a luthier to get the pickup installed. But let me tell you, especially whenever your worship leader is an acoustic player, this is something that you need to do. Just like you wouldn't put them on a crappy microphone as their lead instrument, you don't want them to have a crappy sound from their lead instrument either. So I would say it's worth the investment to go ahead and do that. And I would make that same recommendation to the previous live stream that we listened to as well.
We just did a tech tour with a church here in town, and it comes out this Friday, actually. But they talked about how, oh, we got some nice trees and mountains there. Let me go back to this. They talked about how they provide most of the instruments for their volunteers because they just don't expect their volunteers to have what's needed to make the mix sound the way they want it.
That's such a great idea too.
So they had a bass that is the church bass. It
Yeah.
stays there. They had someone from their main campus. This is Church on the Move. They had someone from the main Church on the Move campus come and tune the bass pedals and everything to the room. And that's how it is every week. The bass players just come and they pick up that bass guitar and it sounds consistent from week to week. I think they do the same thing with an acoustic guitar, and then they even have a few electric guitars that their electric guitars can choose from. But they just make sure that they're set up to get the mix that you want that fits your room, and they just don't expect their volunteers to take on that financial responsibility.
And I love that because they're taking care of their volunteers. I can't think of a better way to spend money than investing in your volunteers, especially on the worship team, because I think of all the teams in the church, they put in the most time. So you might as well invest some money in them. And even if, like, say they didn't have a house acoustic guitar, if they want to take this guy's guitar and make it better by putting that preamp in and just paying for it, I mean, that's a great way to serve your worship leader and to say thank you for what you do. Speaking of that Church on the Move Tech Tour, that's dropping this Friday, and we're going to do it as a premiere. And I think it's at noon Central Time this Friday. And the thing about doing it as a premiere is we're going to be there live to answer any questions that come up through the tour. And even the Church on the Move guy that we did the tour with is going to show up live and answer any questions that you have about their setup and things like that. So if you're able to, mark your calendars for noon Central Time on Friday to be on YouTube and catch that.
It's going to be a good time.
What do you think about visuals, Dylan?
I think we reviewed this one recently too. I feel like I remember the TV wall back there, which is a cool idea if you can't afford an LED wall. I think it's executed pretty well.
Yeah.
First thing I noticed is the gal over there on the left. I guess it'd help if you could see it. The gal over there on the left, she's quite a bit brighter than everybody on stage, so it looks like she might have twice as many lights hitting her as everybody else. So I'd recommend getting up there, get a ladder out, and try to even out that wash of your front lighting, your key lighting, even it out from person to person. And then the other thing that stuck out to me was the lyrics are, they're a little too big, and I noticed the spacing is not consistent from line to line. And I recommend this to everybody. I'd recommend taking your lyrics down to 2 lines tops. I think that's the most digestible amount of lyrics at one time, and it just looks better on the screen. See, there you go, two lines. It looks a lot better. So make it to where it's 2 lines maximum. You can go down to 1 line if it makes sense for the specific slide. But I would work on those 2 things, and I think things will start looking better. Yeah, there wasn't anything else I really noticed off the bat. Your white balance looks good. Exposure looks good, except for that one gal being a little overexposed compared to everybody else. But good job.
Sweet. Joe is asking, do you guys have a video on how to set up a church stream audio with a separate mixer board from the main board used in the house? I do not have a video on that because that's not how I recommend setting up your live stream mix. I recommend using a post fader bus or aux for your live stream. And I do have a course that walks you through how to do that. If you go to collaborateworship.com, there's a orange bar at the top that'll get you into that course. And I even explain why I recommend doing it that way. So I'd go check that out before you decide to jump into using a separate mixer. In the end, if you decide to use a separate mixer, I'm not mad at you. That's just not how I recommend doing it. And I don't want to confuse people by teaching multiple different ways. All right. We're thinking about buying an HX Stomp so we have more consistent guitar. Most of us run Helix already, so it helps. It's a great idea. I've got a Pod Go with a broken expression pedal that I'm this close to just having it live at the church with a VP Junior. See, they're talking all these guitar pedals stuff. We need to get Jimmy on the show.
I know, we're not guitarists, so we're not the guys to talk to on that.
That's why we bring in Jimmy Cooper from Hey Worship Leader. He's all about that guitar. If you guys haven't checked out his YouTube channel, go check it out because it's really good. All right, so next up we have this from Joseph from First Family Community Church. We plan on completely redoing our church, which of course will include caging up the drums as they are very loud. But I'm wondering what is the best way to go about really loud singing. Our worship leader really loud sometimes and he yells. What's the best way to combat this? I have the live stream going into a bus that has a stereo Ultimo compressor on it. Then we route the bus to a matrix that has a precision limiter and then have the matrix go into the computer. And also, what is the best way to go about positioning a subwoofer if you're only going to have one because we won't be able to put it dead center? Also, what size? Okay, I'll address the subwoofer question. I mean, you just got to roll with wherever you can put it. Like at our church, we'd rather have it in the center, but right now it's off to the side. We have a dual 18-inch subwoofer off to one side of the stage because that's the only place that we can put it in our room. So if you have to do the same thing, great. It'll work. There will be some inconsistencies in the room, but in our space, it's actually not that bad. And one thing we did to combat that was install some sound panels back in the back corners to help tighten up that low-end frequency response in the room. So you might need to do that to make it even better. We have a video on our YouTube channel about the results and how we installed those sound panels and things like that. So just go search YouTube for sound panels, and you should be able to find that video. We recommend the dual 18-inch sub from JBL SRX
Something or other.
Some 7 to something 18 dual 18-inch sub. It's awesome.
It kicks. It'll make your pant legs move if you want it to.
It gives you plenty of headroom so you can do what you need to do.
What's interesting though is we used to have 2 single 18s and we put them on each side of the stage, and we had a really inconsistent bass response throughout the room, and we learned that they were canceling each other out in the middle of the room, basically.
Yeah, so we're getting better by having one off to the side.
Yeah,
better response.
There's a lot of science to subwoofer and speaker placement. What's that? Who's that guy that was at the church front conference that did the room EQ thing?
I can't think of his name. Curtis.
Curtis something. He has a YouTube channel.
I think it's Curtis Audio is the YouTube channel.
But he has a video on subwoofer placement and like when you're adding more of them, where you place them, what it does if you put them in different orientations. It's really interesting. So if you care to learn about that, go look it up. It's really cool.
Which we're going to do a video with him, like a collaboration here pretty soon. So maybe that can be the question we ask him is, help us with our subs.
Michael Curtis.
Michael Curtis. All right. Here we go.
You are good and your mercy endureth forever. Lord, you are good and your mercy endureth forever. Sing, Lord, you are good. Lord, you are good and your mercy endureth forever. Lord, you are good and your mercy endureth forever. Oh, sing, people from every nation. People from every nation. From generation. We worship you. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We worship you for who you are.
I think you got a great thing going for the musicians that you have on the stage.
We worship you. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We worship
Lead vocal sounds good.
for who you are. You are good. Come on, why
All
don't
right,
you
let's talk about those drums, though. We need some more depth from the drums.
That's what I was going to say.
I'm barely hearing the kick drum. You need to bring that up quite a bit.
You are good all the time.
And on the snare, I think I'm hearing more ambience than I am the actual snare. And I can't tell if you have a microphone on the snare or not specifically. If you do not, then you need to get one for the snare. You could put a Shure SM57 on there. But snare is such a crucial part of the mix. You want to make sure that it has its own mic on it so you can get the depth and punch from the snare drum.
He says they don't have mics on the drums, only mic on the kick.
That explains what I'm hearing then. Okay, next step, like even just grab whatever mic. If you have a mic sitting in the side room, Shure SM58, just grab one of those and put it on the snare. Going to make a huge difference in your mix. And as the budget allows, get mics on the toms as well.
You are good all the time. All the time. You are good. You are good.
The bass guitar has a good tone to it, but I think there needs to be more of it in the mix. So just bring that up a little bit.
Oh, people from every generation, oh, to generation, we worship you.
He wants to know if you'll go to the second song. He says they have tracks on that song.
Okay.
Praise the Lord. Say, I won't be quiet. I won't be quiet. My God is alive. How could I keep it? Oh, praise the Lord.
Definitely much fuller with those tracks. You're filling in the gaps that I was hearing in the other part. I just realized that those gaps in the first song was because you were missing a few musicians that to fill in those gaps. So that's why I didn't comment on that. But one thing that I did notice is with the drums, since they're being picked up through everybody else's mics and maybe some ambient mics, did you notice how that snare was actually late to the mix because it's picking up a delayed version of that snare? That's why you need that direct sound from the snare drum. It's going to make a huge difference. That's really where I'd start.
I looked it up, and you can get a Behringer drum mic kit for $129, which if you don't have any money to work with, that'd probably be better than nothing.
Yeah,
right?
I would agree. Yep. If you do have money to work with, the kit that I recommend is the Audix DP7 drum microphone kit. The last I checked, it's $1,000, but it gives you a mic for all of your drums.
Someone's asking, how do you EQ the tracks for live stream?
Generally, you don't have to EQ them much unless they're causing some kind of issue. So the thing with tracks is they're giving you perfectly mastered audio sounds already. So that's why they don't require a lot of EQ. The thing that you do want to do is add the same reverb that you're using everywhere else to your tracks to help it blend in and actually sound like an instrument on the stage rather than this other thing that you're adding that doesn't belong with the rest of the band. So that's kind of the trick that I do with tracks is add in that reverb and then it sounds like it belongs with the band instead of some other thing. Yeah, man, you just need to get those drums sorted out, and it's going to be worth the investment. So maybe you could even tell your pastor that, like these YouTubers on Collaborate Worship, like they were just saying, you need drum mics, you need drum mics, you need drum mics, and you need drum mics. It's going to make a huge difference. What do you think about visuals, Dylan?
I'm just trying to think through a better camera position for you, because this one is just a little distracting with the congregation being so present in the foreground, and then looks like you got a window off to the side there that's making that lady there in the middle blown out. That's really all I can focus on. I don't think you really have a lot of options to work with from what I can see. If you're able to... Well, no, you can't zoom it in if you want to show everybody on stage, so you can't do that.
Can we raise the camera up?
Yeah, you could try raising it up and tilting it down a bit so you get less of the people in the foreground. I don't know. I feel like the only way to mitigate that is to get some close-up shots, but that's going to involve adding more cameras. Then you wouldn't have to stay on that wide shot very much. The windows are just so tricky in a worship environment like that. They just add a lot of inconsistency in your lighting. Any ideas in the comments? Let me know. I don't know it all. Let me know if you guys got any ideas. I don't think it looks terrible. That's just that the blown out congregation is really the only thing that's distracting me in terms of, being able to see what's going on. I can tell what's going on. Nothing is really hard to see. Just kind of nitpicking that one thing. Oh, I noticed it going out of focus there a second ago. Maybe turn autofocus off so that doesn't happen. I don't know. You got any thoughts on it?
I think raising it up would make a big difference because it doesn't look like that the camera is eye level with the people on the stage. It looks like it's more eye level with the people on the floor, which is why our focus is going to the floor. So, I mean, getting that like probably 1 or 2 feet higher, however high that stage is going to change the focus visually.
Looks like you just said they're going to try to mount it on the back wall so it's more elevated and they won't have to have it on a tripod.
Sweet.
Cool. I'm excited to see what it looks like after you do that.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for sending this in. I think we have one more to go through today. And this is from Doug from Grace Community Church of Belleville, Texas. Any observations and tips are appreciated. I would appreciate any advice on the compression mic on the cello and how to get quieter sounds from the instruments in the mix while appropriately gating out other sounds. Awesome. Let's take a listen.
Creation's revealing your majesty. From the colors of fall to the fragrance of spring. Every creature unique in the song that it sings. All exclaiming, indescribable, uncontainable. powerful. You place the stars in the sky and you know them by name. You are amazing, God. All powerful, untamable. Awestruck, we fall to our knees as we humbly proclaim. You are amazing, God.
You have a really good thing going here. Good job, man.
Who has told every lightning bolt where it should go?
I did notice things sound a little crispy, like in those really high. So if you have a high shelving filter, it sounds like it's on the overall mix because I hear it in the cymbals and in the lead vocal. Yeah, you're being a little bit too aggressive with that. Like you're kind of boosting that 12 kilohertz range too much. So bring that down a little bit.
Yet conceals it to bring us the coolness of night. None can fathom, indescribable.
And I'm missing the low frequencies like the bass guitar and the kick drum. You're doing a great job filling up the rest of the frequency spectrum. It still sounds warm. We're just missing that low end energy. So more bass guitar, quite a bit more bass guitar, and quite a bit more kick drum too.
All powerful, untamable. Awestruck, we fall to our knees as we humbly proclaim. You are amazing, God. Come on, church, worship Him. You are amazing, God.
And I do want to comment on how good you're mixing your background vocal. It's sitting right where it needs to in the mix. So kudos to you. That's really good. You also have a really solid lead vocalist to work with there.
Indescribable,
He has a nice tone.
uncontainable. You place the stars in the sky and you know.
Cool, man. Thanks for sending that in. What do you think about visuals, Dylan? I didn't give you a full screen. Look at that. I'm going to fix that right this minute.
Before we get to individuals, we've got a few comments that people made about the sound. Someone said missing kick and snare, which I would agree with. Someone else said more low end. And then Ryan said reverb on the vocals. It sounds a bit dry.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. A little more reverb there.
Ryan also said, a different Ryan actually, maybe some more keys as well.
Yeah.
Thought it was a little low in the mix. Yeah, I'd agree with all those. Just a few small things.
Yeah.
And then Doug messaged me in Slack today saying that last time we did their stream, I commented about the key lighting being inconsistent and showing too much of the ceiling. So they fixed those two things and it definitely looks better. So good job there. I like that I'm not seeing so much in the ceiling. I think you could even pan down a tiny bit more, just a bit. You don't want to like cut off your background you have on the wall there. And the key lighting definitely looks better. I still see it a little bit hotter on your lead vocalist there than anybody else, but it looks like he's just standing further forward. So that's probably why. I'd recommend maybe bringing some other people further forward with him so that he's not kind of just standing alone up there. He looks kind of lonely there at the front of the stage.
I'm noticing like the shadows on his eyes are pretty exaggerated. So the way you fix that, apparently the lights are too high or too close. They're angled down too far. So two ways to fix that. You can drop your lights down on a truss, or you can move your lights back, and then you have this problem of them splashing onto the background, which you have your projector there, and that causes problems. You know, just one of the beautiful things of working with lighting. But you can get lights with barn doors to help alleviate those problems.
Or you could try adding some fill on the ground at the front of the stage there to shoot up at them.
lights.
I mean, that's not the most elegant solution, but if you have a few extra lights sitting around, you could try that. Just make sure they're not RGB, please. Do not do that with RGB lights. They need to be the same color temperature as your other ones. And then your white balance is looking a little warm. The skin tones are a little too orange, so I would recommend cooling that down just a tiny bit. It's not too bad. And then your camera's horizon is off. It's tilted a little bit. So I would correct that. Adjust those few things, and let's see how it looks next time. A good job.
Sweet. I love seeing female bass players.
Yeah, we have one of those.
We have one of
She's
those
awesome.
too. It's awesome.
Shout out to Candace.
Yeah.
Well, that was the last one, right?
That was the last one.
We'll do a short little Q&A here. We've got a couple minutes, so if you got any more questions, drop them ASAP. We'll try to answer them. Let's see if we have any more. He asked about the cello specifically.
I did not hear the cello. Let me pull it back up here, though. Maybe we can go into a different song and hear it more.
Then came the morning that sealed the promise. Your buried body began to breathe out of the silence. The roaring lion declared the grave has no claim on me. If you believe it, sing it out. And came the morning that sealed the promise. Your buried body began to breathe out of the silence.
Get it. See, I see her playing the cello, but I'm not hearing it. Do you hear it?
I don't hear it at all. No.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to comment on it when I can't hear it. And I know I see you have a mic on her, and I'm sure that's the problem is getting it loud enough without getting a lot of the ambience going on. I know that they have some mics specific for cellos and things like that that create a really close miking situation, and they probably even have some pickups that you could put inside of a cello just like you do acoustic guitar.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. Usually when it comes to gating, I know you made a comment or a question on gating in a live setting. I almost never gate an open microphone. And the reason is there's just so much stage noise. It's hard to get a gate to sound natural in an environment like that. The only time you'd really gate a vocal mic is if you're in the studio, and there's a lot of difference between the ambient noise of where they are and their singing. Where in a live setting like this, there's just not enough. So it's hard to get those gate settings dialed in, and then you got to change it from song to song because then they're singing quieter. So I don't gate vocal mics. I wouldn't even gate a cello mic. I do apply some gating on drums because those are a little bit easier because you can apply key filters and you can even use triggers to open those gates and things like that. So yeah, I wouldn't mess with the gate on the cello. The challenge with her is going to be getting her in the mix. Maybe you can't get her loud enough in the room without feedback, but you should still be able to get more in the live stream because you don't have the feedback problem there. So I would try to bring that up in the live stream, even beyond what you're doing in the house, so you can hear it in the live stream. And then if I could hear it, I would comment on it, but let me take one more listen, see what we got going.
Has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name, Jesus Christ, my living hope. One more time, Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ.
Yep. Now, one thing I did notice by playing that second song is that lead vocal is a little hot compared to the rest of the mix. You do want him in front, but you don't want him like way out there. So dial him back a bit so he's not so far out front.
Someone was asking how you optimize audio on a phone. We actually have a video about that. If you just search improve live stream audio for phone users, we'll have a video that pops up.
In the end, if you get the audio sounding great in a pair of great headphones like this, it's going to also sound great on a phone. So I wouldn't be too concerned with that. But like he said, we do have a video on just like one simple trick that you can do to make it sound a little bit better on a phone. Because
unfortunately, a lot of people are watching on a phone.
I know. What a disappointment, right?
Yep. And they're never going to hear your low end. So don't try to get that out of it. Ain't going to happen.
But make sure you're mixing the low end in there for those who are listening on a sound bar or something like that, so they're not missing out on the full frequency spectrum whenever they have the ability to reproduce it.
Let's see what else we got. This is Joseph from the last one. Until we get another mic for the drums, is it better to have the only mic we have to go to the kick or the snare?
Kick
and turn it up.
Yep.
Let's see. Trying to read these fast, sorry. Cello has a solo just a little further. I don't know how long ago that comment was, though.
Oh, there it is.
The cello.
My life is yours.
Got a vocal pan there.
Well, I thought that the cello sounded good. The only changes that I would make to it is to add some reverb to it, just to give it some more space. It sounded a little bit dry. But, I mean, as far as compression and gating goes, I didn't hear anything wrong with it.
Someone asked how you would turn up their live stream using an Avantis board. Sounds kind of like a loaded question. We've also never used an Avantis.
Yep.
Could be a few things that are causing your volume issue, right?
Yeah. I guess, I mean, if you're not getting enough volume before redlining it, you want to check your compression, make sure you're compressing every channel. You also want to have some compression on the live stream mix overall, and then even a limiter on your live stream mix. Those three things combined usually get you to the volume that you need to be. I don't know how specifically to do that on your board. Maybe somebody here has one that can comment and let you know.
All right, we'll do one more. We got the wing in a DL32 stage box, 200-foot Cat 5e shielded Ethernet cable. Sometimes when the band is playing or when it's just the pastor on stage, the whole sound goes off for a couple seconds.
Oi.
Any thoughts on that, what that could be?
And you're using a shielded Ethernet cable.
Does anything else go off? Just the sound? Does anything flicker? Or that's really weird.
Yeah, there's clearly some kind of interference going on there. That's awful.
Unfortunately, probably the best way to find that is just going to be testing every variable that you can. Start from the beginning of the signal chain. I know it's kind of confusing if it's happening with everything, though. It's not something specific.
I mean, that kind of rules it out for you. It probably has something to do with that Ethernet cable. Maybe you need to run another one. Just because it's shielded doesn't mean there's not something wrong with it.
Make sure you don't have a bunch of power wires running over it, too. Even though it's shielded, if you got a big old power cable running right over it, it might cause you some problems. It says everything goes off and makes a boom sound. That sounds fun.
Boom. Oh, man. That's a tough problem.
Problem with the board, maybe, too? You think?
I don't know. It's hard to say.
Could be any variety of things.
Yeah.
You're going to have to test everything. Anything that you can, like, swap out with something else, try that. See if it fixes it.
Good luck. We have a similar problem, although not as extreme, but the pastor's mic at our church is just having issues with interference and things like that.
The latest thing we tested is moving our antenna to a different part of the room.
So
we'll see how that goes.
Yep.
If that doesn't fix it, I'm going to have an expert come out and figure it out.
Yep. All right. Well, y'all, thanks so much for sending these in. Again, if you'd like your live stream reviewed, be sure to become an all access subscriber. If you do that before Friday, November 17th, you'll get your first month for $7. And that gives you access to all of our courses, premium support, live stream reviews, all the stuff. So use the link in the description. Go do that before Friday. It'll be well worth your $7, and there's no contracts. You can cancel anytime. So if you want to come extract all you can out of us for $7 and then cancel your subscription, you're free to do that. But I don't think you'll want to give it up once you have it, honestly.
Yeah. Also, we have a new training free of charge. Link down in the comments.
Yep.
What was that called again? Consistent sound.
Consistent great sound.
Consistent great sound.
Yep.
So check that out. Free to you.
3-part video training series. Yep.
And then Church on the Move Tech Tour on Friday. It's going to premiere, so you'll be able to ask questions live as we're watching it together. Daniel, their production director, will be there with us live to answer your questions. It's going to be a good time. So put that on your calendar, 12 p.m. Central Time.
Sweet.
Alrighty.
Thanks, y'all. Have a good evening or a good morning if you're in other parts of the world, and we'll see you next time.
Adios.